What was that? Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan? Yeah, that was my impression of Beerus. What's up guys, Cam here coming at you with another movie review. Today I am doing Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. I love this movie. Any of you guys that know me outside of this channel know that I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, so you can't even imagine how excited I was whenever we got this new movie in 2014. I was stoked. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it in theaters, but I did get the extended uncut Blu-ray, which is just, you know, pretty much as good, if not better. Now, the premise of this movie is this god of destruction named Beerus the Destroyer, has a premonition that he has an epic battle with a Super Saiyan god. And throughout this movie, he's trying to find this Super Saiyan god and do battle with him. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is Beerus the Destroyer. He is a very, very well-written villain for this movie. I put villain in quotations because I wouldn't really consider him a villain. He's a god. He's a god of destruction. He destroys things. That's what he does. It's not a matter of good or evil. It's just what he does. And Jason Douglas, who voiced Beerus, does a really good job of making him intimidating, but at the same time very funny and very likable. And when we're first introduced to Beerus, he's not introduced to us as someone to fear or someone to be afraid of. He kind of comes off as cute, cuddly, and adorable. Now let's come to the main hero of this movie, who is Goku, aka Kakarot, who is voiced by Sean Schemmel. And let me just say, it is so refreshing to have Sean Schemmel at the helm of this movie. His voice as Goku is just, it's perfect. I could not imagine anybody else voicing that. So that's why I'm really, really, really hoping that they bring back all the original American voice actors for Dragon Ball Super, because if anybody else voiced Goku, I don't know what I would do with myself. I'd be kind of heartbroken, to be honest with you. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't seen the not uncut version of this movie. I've only ever watched the uncut extended version, so you get that exposition at the beginning telling us basically who Goku is, some extended scenes and altered scenes later in the movie and stuff, and that's actually what I'll be reviewing, because, like I said, I never saw the theatrical release of it, so sorry. There are some scenes that come off as a little bit too expositional, a little bit unneeded at times, but it really adds to the movie because it helps you to understand. It helps people who haven't really been too familiar with Dragon Ball Z in the past to know what's been going on leading up to this movie. Because if you just watch the theatrical release of this movie and you don't really get that exposition at the beginning, you're not really going to know who these people are, you're not going to know what's going on, you're not going to know the significance of the character of Goku, really, and I think that it really helps. Now let's get to the animation of this movie. The animation is leaps and bounds better than the other Dragon Ball Z movies we've got in the past, better than the show. I mean, it is just magnificent to watch. They do a really good job of blending the hand-drawn animation with the CGI animation during these great big battle sequences, and it really, really looks great. It's almost seamless. Now, something else I want to talk about is the editing of this movie, especially during the battles, because you really, really feel the weight and the impact of every punch thrown by these people. You can really, really tell how hard they're being hit because of the sound editing. The little shakes in the camera whenever someone gets hit, it really adds to the impact, to the weight of these attacks. Now, you are going to see some typical Dragon Ball Z cliches in there, like, for example, it has to be Goku that fights the big bad guy. There are the little snippets of exposition in there. Oh, it suddenly made him stronger than Goku! Yeah, you're going to get a lot of that. But it's Dragon Ball Z. It's to be expected. That's how they've run their shows and the movies up until now, and they haven't really broken that tradition, and I think that's okay. Something else I will say about this movie, though, it is funny. It is so funny. Akira Toriyama's humor, who I am so glad is back at the helm of this movie, his humor is present all throughout this movie, and it is so hilarious. There are some moments where the first time I watched this movie, I was kind of clutching my sides laughing because it's funny. There is but one thing that kind of disappointed me about this movie, but at the same time didn't. Goku was the only one who got any kind of spotlight in this movie. He was the only one who was able to do anything significant. Everybody else just kind of got cast to the side. Which at the same time is understandable because they're fighting a god, but they could have done it in a better way, in my opinion. There's another character in this movie that we're introduced to named Whis, and he and Beerus' banter between the two of them is just so funny to listen to. He is a good character. He's kind of the yin to Beerus's yang, and they mesh together so well. It's kind of hard to say that two animated characters have chemistry, but they have some really good chemistry. Their dialogue was written ingeniously, I think. Now, I'm not going to pack a whole lot into this review because I really want to talk about my favorite scenes from this movie. So I'm just going to go ahead and give Battle of Gods a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, that's right. There are a couple of things in this movie that I wish could have been just a little bit better, but they are very small, very almost insignificant things that I want better. So guys, spoiler alert, I will be talking about my top 3 favorite scenes out of this movie. I'm doing top 3 this time because this movie doesn't quite make it to the cinematic average of an hour and a half. It's about an hour and 20 minutes, so there isn't really a whole lot to choose from. So I'm just going to do my top 3 favorite scenes for this movie. Starting off with number 3, the introduction to the character of Beerus the Destroyer. Now, like I said before, when we first see Beerus, he's not really shown to us as someone who is to be feared or to be intimidated by. He's just a cat, basically. He's a cat who is sleeping, who got woken up and doesn't want to get out of bed. And there are some great back and forth between Beerus and Whis. And the next scene that follows is a little bit of exposition, at the same time it's kind of not, that gives us a bit more backstory into Goku and why Beerus wants to fight Goku, basically. But he believes that Goku might end up being his arch-rival, and the person that he had a premonition about who will end up being the Super Saiyan God. And this is where Beerus learns about the survival of the Saiyans and how they're able to turn into Super Saiyans. And he is intrigued by this fact. He wants to visit them, he wants to learn about them, he wants to figure out whether or not they know about the Super Saiyan God. And from the moment that Beerus wakes up to the moment that they leave his planet, it's a great scene to watch. I think it really adds a whole lot to this movie besides just the exposition part of it. Number 2, Vegeta versus Beerus. Now this is really the only time that we get to see Vegeta fight in this movie, and it doesn't last for very long, but what it does have is a pretty good variety to it. It starts off with Vegeta and Beerus kind of facing off. Vegeta's trying to lead Beerus away from all the people, and he actually takes a few more hits than Super Saiyan 3 Goku did, which I'll be getting into a little bit later. And that just kind of shows how tough Vegeta is. Vegeta's able to take some really hard hits and not crap out at that very second. And then whenever Vegeta seems incapacitated and Bulma gets slapped, Vegeta just goes absolutely apeshit and beats the crap out of Beerus for a good 30-45 seconds. And it's a lot of fun to watch because that's really Vegeta's one time to shine in this movie. Even though it doesn't faze Beerus at all really at the end of it, it's really Vegeta's only time that he's able to do anything in this movie. And since Vegeta is my favorite character, I just think he is the most well-written character and he has the best arc in the entire series. I gotta love it. I gotta love when Vegeta has the opportunity to really be a badass. And number 1, Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Beerus. I didn't pick Super Saiyan God Goku versus Beerus because while that is a great scene, I wouldn't really count it up as one of my favorites. I think that Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Beerus is my favorite scene in the movie simply because we really get a feel for how powerful Beerus is in this scene. He is a god. Nobody can contest him. He is all-powerful. And when Goku turns Super Saiyan 3, he is powered up to the max. He can't go any further. And he is trying his absolute hardest to land at least one punch on Beerus. But all it takes to subdue Goku is a flick to the forehead and then just a slight little on the neck. It's not even a hit. Beerus doesn't even hit him. He just and Goku's done. He passes out, he falls into a crater and just it's over. I thought that was absolutely incredible. I thought that was great to watch because it is good. I think it is a lot of fun to see Goku knocked off his high horse for once. Well guys, that's it. I absolutely love this movie. Do you guys like Dragon Ball Z? I'm pretty sure if you're friends with me, you probably like Dragon Ball Z because there's a lot of fans in my area. But anyways, do you love Dragon Ball Z? Of course you do. Anyways, that's all for today. I will see you guys in the next review.